Is Russia trying to provoke an incident with Japan? August 30, 2026. Russia's recent military exercises around the disputed Kuril Islands followed a visit by Russian leader Vladimir Putin in which the Kremlin seemed to thumb its nose at Japan. There has been much focus in recent years on several political flashpoints in Asia, including the Taiwan Strait, the South China Sea, the Korean Peninsula, the India-China border, and the Kashmir region, split between India and Pakistan. All of these areas are contested, and tensions there could spiral into a larger conflict. The Taiwan issue is of particular importance to the world, given Taiwan's economic importance and China's repeated refusal to disavow attacking the island in order to bring it into Chinese orbit. However, China isn't the only power that has rattled sabers over territorial claims in a way that could result in an armed conflict. There is another flashpoint that is also dangerous to regional stability, though it has been remarked on far less often in the West: the Kuril Islands, an island chain between Japan's northern island of Hokkaido and Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, which have remained disputed between Russia and Japan since the end of World War II. The conflict has gained increased attention after Russian President Vladimir Putin's recent visit to Aturup Island, known in Japan as Etarofu, the largest of the four disputed islands. It was carefully orchestrated to underscore that Moscow continues to view the islands as a non-negotiable and permanent part of the Russian Federation. Putin's visit to the Kuril Islands infuriated Japan. During the visit, his first to the islands in his quarter-century as Russia's leader, Putin inspected local infrastructure, met with regional leaders, and toured civilian facilities, including a fish processing plant, a school, and a hospital. It served to further emphasize Russia's economic investment in the territory. Putin's visit was followed by Russian naval and missile exercises in the Far East, which were seen as a warning to Tokyo as Japan has deepened its security ties with Western allies in NATO. The Russian Navy announced last week that the Slava-class missile cruiser Varyag had fired 2 Vulcan anti-ship missiles during the drills, and the nuclear-powered Project 949A Oscar-class submarine Omsk launched a Granite cruise missile. In addition, the coastal defense systems on the Kuril Islands fired multiple Onika cruise missiles. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi strongly condemned the visit as absolutely unacceptable, stating that it had hurt the feelings of the Japanese people and further hardened Russo-Japanese relations. Fun fact: Russia and Japan are sort of still at war. The conflict over the Kuril Islands goes back more than 170 years, when the 1855 Treaty of Shimoda formally recognized the Russo-Japanese borders and gave Japan sovereignty over the 4 southernmost islands, which Tokyo calls the Northern Territories. However, in the final weeks of World War II, the Red Army occupied those 4 islands after Japan announced its surrender. The islands repeatedly came up as an obstacle to an enduring peace settlement between Russia and Japan after World War II. Japan argues that the islands were historically part of Hokkaido and weren't part of the Kuril chain. Moscow maintains that its ownership is the lawful outcome of World War II. For the Kremlin, the islands are seen to provide a defensive barrier that provides the Russian Pacific Fleet with secure naval access between the Sea of Okhotsk and the Pacific Ocean. The surrounding waters are also rich fishing grounds, while the islands contain valuable minerals, including rare earth metals, giving both sides a reason to continue the dispute. Although the Soviet Union sent representatives to the 1951 San Francisco Peace Conference, which formalized the end of World War II in Asia, the Soviets didn't sign the treaty due to the dispute over the islands. A Sino-Japanese joint declaration in 1956 formally ended the state of war between the two sides. Yet a final, comprehensive peace treaty has never been completed and likely won't be for the foreseeable future, given the dispute over the territory. Russo-Japanese relations are now at arguably their worst point since the end of World War II. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Japan has strongly supported Ukraine, supplying Kyiv with arms and equipment, voting against Russia at the United Nations, and placing sanctions on Kremlin leaders. Russia added Japan to its list of unfriendly countries in March 2022. By National Interest, story by Peter Susiu.